Good evening, class. We are going to go over the important passages and word choices in the novel Once a Runner. And one of the best examples comes from page 63, where Andrea, the girlfriend of Quentin, asks why he runs and why it's so important to him. And it starts on the third paragraph of page 63. Depends on what you call a point. It's a simple choice. We can all be good boys and wear our leather sweaters around and get our little degrees and find some nice girl to settle, down with. Take up what a friend of ours calls the hardy challenges of lawn care. Or what? What's your alternative? She leaned over the table, trying to get him back on track. Or we can blaze. Become legends in our own time. Strike fear in the heart of mediocre talent everywhere. We can scold dogs, put records out of reach, make the stands gasp as we blow into an unearthly kick from 300 yards out. We can become God's own messengers delivering the dreaded scrolls. We can race dark Satan himself till he wheezes fiery cinders down the back straightaway. They'll speak our names in hushed tones. Those guys are animals, they'll say. We can lay it on the line, bust a gut, show them a clean pair of heels. We can sprint the turn on a spring breeze and feel the winter leave our feet. Now, to most people, this passage isn't really that important or that significant. But to me, as someone who has run before, I understand the challenges of being a runner and the challenges of explaining why we run and why it's significant. But the word choice here by Quentin, where the life of the normal person, where you get little degrees and find some nice girl to settle, down with, seems like something that Quentin doesn't want, but that's really a social norm that runners don't adhere to. And then when he tries to explain, or we can blaze, become legends in our own time, Quentin's not really saying that he believes that every single runner, every single person has the capacity to do this, but he's kind of saying in a way that you can choose your own path, but the path of running is not a path for everyone. And then chapter 17, which we will either go into on tomorrow in class or we've already covered today, is maybe the most significant chapter in the novel to understand the word choice of Parker and the way that Cassidy interacts with himself, with Bruce Denton, with Andrea, and with all the other characters in the novel. Quinn had been through it before. Every one of them had at one time or another, but it's never been quite this bad. Denton called it breaking down, although Cassidy preferred the nomenclature of certain Caribbean quasi-religious groups. Walking Death was much closer to it. Quite a bit more, really, than the simple exhaustion of a single difficult workout. Breaking down was a cumulative physical morbidity that usually built up over several weeks and left the runner struggling to recover from one session to the next. And as writers, we may suffer through this problem where we have written so much on a certain subject, we've written so many practice essays on a novel or a theme that we feel we can't do it anymore. We're emotionally exhausted, we're physically tired. And this happens in running, it happens in writing, it happens in any discipline where you are breaking down, where you can't stay at the high level anymore and you just can't maintain it. On page 120, the first paragraph, the toll on the runner and those around him was high, psychologically as well as physically. He became weak, depressed. He needed 12 to 14 hours of sleep a night. And as we know, 12 to 14 hours of sleep is not something that we can get in our everyday average life, but for a runner who is so focused to the task where he only sees breaking the 4-minute mile as a significant event in his life, there's really nothing else that Quentin Cassidy is focused on. And the toll is not just physical. It's not the 100-mile weeks. It's not the repeats. It's also psychological. And it not only affects him, but it affects those around him. On page 121, towards the middle of the page, the runner would begin to feel self-conscious around others knowing that he was no longer one of them. Eventually he would drift off and be a runner no more. And this happens to runners or writers or anyone talented in a certain discipline, where they get to a certain level and they plateau. They can't proceed upward anymore. They can't improve. They are stuck at a certain level and they never move beyond that level. And runners will know that they will never move beyond that plateau and they will turn in their shoes. So this is not only writing that exemplifies that, but also as a runner, Parker probably went through the same problem. To finish the chapter, running to him was real. The way he did it, the realest thing he knew. It was all the joy and woe, hard as diamond. It made him weary beyond comprehension, but it also made him free. Now this, I think, might be the most important two sentences in the entire novel, because running to him was real. Everything in the novel focuses on how running to Quinn Cassidy is real. Nothing else matters, nothing else is as real or as significant. So the use of the word real puts something that's not really concrete into a concrete, understandable thing that we can discuss and look at in our own life, what is real to us and what we just do as part of an obligation. It was the realest thing he knew. It was all joy and woe, which is something that at first glance might seem inappropriate to be joyful and woeful about the same thing. But running has its highest highs and its lowest lows, which throughout the novel, Quinn Cassidy will go through. He will fall in love and fall out of love. He will have the highs of running and the lows of running, the highs of life and the lows. And to him, running is real, and running has the same highs and lows as life, but to him, the other highs and lows don't matter if his running isn't going well. It made him weary beyond comprehension, but it also made him free. So the juxtaposition of being free and being weary comes from, he knows he needs to be weary to be a great runner. He knows he needs to break down to become stronger, and that's his freedom. So tomorrow in class, we will discuss how you feel you have been weary or struggled with an issue, and if there are any other passages that you believe are important to understanding the novel to discuss. And that is all. I will see you tomorrow in class.